Today, you will learn how to build self-discipline, resist temptations, and reach your long-term goals. When you do things the hard way, life is easy. The only choices that separate average and great are the ones that are hard. The choice to stop eating bad food and change the way you eat. The choice to give up TV and spend time learning. The choice to follow your dreams instead of following the mainstream idea of success, even if it doesn't make you happy. The choice to fight, even though you're tired and can hardly stand. Self-discipline is the key that will help you make these hard decisions instead of sticking with what's easy and comfortable. A lot of people who only care about short-term pleasures and things that are safe, simple, and comfy never reach their long-term goals. So how do you build self-discipline in your life? How do you say no to short-term benefits so that you can reach your long-term goals? This book can solve those questions. Although I've been a self-disciplined person ever since I can remember, I always seek more information and advice about making myself more effective at resisting temptations. For 2 months, I didn't eat for more than 40 hours. Every day, I took 2 5-minute showers that were very cold. In 12 weeks, I lost more than 30 pounds by following a strict diet. As many as several times, I ran in shorts for 30 minutes in 4 degrees Fahrenheit. I worked out so hard that I could see stars in my head. I put together more than 100,000 words in 1 month, which is enough for a 400-page book. What the hell am I doing? You don't need to worry about the answer. I'm not a masochist, no. In order to see how far my self-control goes, I pushed myself to do that. I have no doubt there's nothing more important to a successful life than to maintain a high level of self-discipline and keep growing on a daily basis. Hence, I challenge myself. After going without food for almost 2 days, I want to see if I can fight the urge to eat or go home when the frigid air makes my legs feel weak. My experiments help me understand myself better and teach me useful things about self-discipline, things that can be applied in everyone's life. Though, don't worry, you don't have to put yourself through my crazy tests, though it wouldn't hurt you. Your willingness to understand how discipline works and applying this knowledge in your life is all you need to change yourself, whether you want to learn how to stick to your new eating pattern or transform your entire life. You'll find out how to do it in the following pages. Many of the tips in this book come from scientific studies that are cited at the end of the book. I chose not to go into depth about each study so that you could get the most out of the book in the least amount of time. I'm not going to give you long, boring, and confusing explanations of why studies were done. Instead, I'm going to give you how. Chapter 1. The Fundamentals of Self-Discipline. The 80-20 principle says that 80% of the results come from 20% of the efforts. In reality, you often need to know just one thing to achieve extraordinary results. Self-discipline is no different. It can also be summed up in one idea: automating the things you do. You don't need any more self-discipline than you have now if you learn how to establish new habits in your life, default actions you take when tempted to lose sight of your long-term goals. Let's say someone offers you a chocolate bar while you're on a diet. Your long-term goal is to get healthy and lose weight, but there's a delicious bomb of sugar right in front of you that makes you want to give in. It's almost like not eating it would kill you. You move around and wiggle, trying to find the strength to say no. The chocolate bar is gone in 2 minutes, if not sooner. What the heck? 1 chocolate bar won't hurt your diet, right? If someone gives you a chocolate bar again, you won't be able to say no. You'll soon give up your diet and start eating normally again because you haven't trained your body to automatically think of chocolate bars when they are offered to you. Now imagine that your actions are run by a computer, following the 80-20 rule and making a new habit a part of your life. When a chocolate bar comes into view, you become aware of your desire for it. Instead of giving in, you see it for what it is: a distraction that will keep you from reaching your long-term goal. You tell yourself that eating a piece of fruit will get rid of the hunger. It all takes only a second and feels like something you do every morning when you wake up. You don't need to exert your self-discipline to do it, do you? Good job. Your automatic behavior has kept you from breaking your goals. Self-discipline starts with habits. It can take anywhere from 18 to 254 days to make a new habit stick. On average, it takes 66 days, or a little more than 2 months, to make a new habit stick. Each day you repeat the behavior you intend to automate. You need less discipline to make it stick. 66 days later, it takes little discipline to maintain the habit. It becomes your automatic behavior. What makes up a habit? According to Charles Duhigg, author of The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business, there are 3 parts: the cue, the action, and the payoff. The look of a chocolate bar in the store is your cue to eat it, and the sweet taste of chocolate in your mouth is your prize. Your brain has a simple plan. When it sees the cue, it makes you do the action, generally without you realizing it, so it can get the prize it wants. We can use the same method to create good habits and make our actions automatic, which is good news. We can also change bad habits into good ones. Let's use the chocolate bar as an example and say that you eat it because you want something sweet. If you want to eat a candy bar, try an apple instead the next time. The first time you modify your behavior will be the hardest. That's when your self-discipline is needed the most. Some of the tips I'll give you later in the book might come in handy. A few times of doing the same thing will make it easier and easier to switch out the bar for an apple. After a few weeks, you'll always choose an apple over a chocolate bar. It will become your new habit. Making a different choice won't even cross your mind. Developing new habits is the essence of self-discipline. But there's a better way to start new habits than one at a time. Pay attention to keystone habits. In his book, Charles Duhigg writes about keystone habits, which are trends that can change many other parts of your life. As you might expect, daily exercise is one of the best habits that can help you change other habits. Studies have shown that regular physical exercise may make people less likely to smoke, eat too much, drink too much, and take risks. Because of this, making one change to your daily routine can help you make many other healthy changes with little to no pushback. Good things just happen and change your life. Please sign me up. Oh, I'm sorry. This event already helped me. I'm a better person because I work out, just like the person in the case from the study source. I used to be weak, overweight, and eat badly. But after I started pulling weights, I became healthy, strong, and fit. There are no longer any little bad habits in my life that I had before I started working out. That's not even good enough. I naturally don't want to go back to him, my bad eating habits, or other bad habits that used to run my life. When someone offers me a bag of potato chips, I don't need any discipline to say no. It's just not a part of my new personality to eat it. Another keystone habit that can help you make changes in your life with much less discipline than tackling each of them separately is food journaling. Researchers found that people who wrote down what they ate less and made better choices. Other than writing down what they ate each day, the people who took part were not told to change any other habits. Like when you work out, the change happens on its own. I also wrote down what I ate in a food log. What I learned helped me figure out how to use the energy and nutrients in different foods to either lose weight or build strength. 2 keystone habits that can change your life are writing down what you eat and working out. However, what if you already eat well and work out regularly? Not only do these 2 things make up keystone habits, in any other part of your life, you can use what Duhigg found and look for other keystone habits. Consider making these keystone habits a part of your daily routine and watch the good things happen. 1. At least 20 science studies have shown that meditation is good for you in every part of your life. In another part, we'll talk about meditation in more depth. 2. When you wake up 15 minutes earlier, you can start your day with less stress and less of a rush. This can make a big difference in your life. Getting rid of stress in the morning can help you get along better with others and work less efficiently. 3. Every day, do something new. Getting out of your comfort zone and doing things you've never done before will help you meet new people, find new hobbies, and face your fears. 4. Saving money. It doesn't matter what you think about money and happiness. Saving for a couple of months will only make your life better. You'll feel less stressed and safer financially, which will affect other parts of your life. 5. Being thankful for the things you have. Studies have shown that writing down 3 good things that happened each day made people happier over time. Willpower. Is it a resource? In their books, some writers, like Kelly McGonigal and Roy Baumeister, talk about willpower as a limited resource that needs to be controlled. Their results, which are mostly based on Baumeister's work, look interesting. Our drive is like a muscle. We can work it out and make it stronger. Their model says that our self-control is linked to our blood sugar. When it drops, so does our motivation. That is, people who were hungry were more likely to choose bad things. I didn't think it was right. I have a strange eating schedule because I don't eat for 16 to 20 hours a day and only eat between 4 and 8 hours. But even when I'm fasting, I don't just give in to temptations. It helps me understand things better, if anything. As I did study for this book, I came across proof that their advice might be wrong. Robert Kirschbaum and his co-workers don't think the idea that willpower is like glucose in that it can be replenished is likely to be true. A study from Germany backs up what Kirschbaum says, and some studies even show that your motivation doesn't depend on your blood sugar levels, but on whether you think it's restricted. What a mess, huh? I chose to change both points of view when I wrote this book. Without the controversial, get some sugar to restore your self-control, the second most important thing to learn how to live a more disciplined life is to understand how important self-awareness and motivation are, and how they can help you stick to your resolutions, low blood sugar level or not. The basics of self-discipline is what we'll talk about in the second part. Just to review. 1. For most people, it takes 66 days to form a habit. Once you make a certain behavior automatic, you won't have to rely on your self-discipline to keep doing it when presented with a specific cue. It's something you trained yourself to do, so it will happen on its own. It's the simplest way to introduce more discipline into your life. 2. The most useful habits are the ones that are based on keys. Making regular exercise a habit is something you should do if you haven't already. You could meditate, get up earlier, show thanks, save money, or try something new every day if these things aren't already in your schedule. Part 2. What's your why? The most basic definition of self-discipline is the ability to control your urges in order to meet your long-term goals. Your long-term goals are the most important thing here. They are why you say no to quick satisfaction. To keep the promises you made to yourself, having a strong why is second to none. When you feel tempted to give in, remember your why. Let's say you want to lose weight and get fit. That's a good goal, but a piece of chocolate will make you want to give up. This goal isn't clear enough, and it doesn't make me feel strongly about it. The new sentence is, you need to lose 20 pounds by the end of the year so you can fit into your hot red dress or suit or any other favorite piece of clothing that makes you feel good. You'll feel light and young when you wear it, and you'll be in charge of your food and exercise. You'll be happy and healthy. Take a look at that sweet. Should I really give up this strong vision for a quick sugar rush? Instead, take an apple and know that you're still on the right road. One thing is missing from this method, though. Think about your why in great depth for a moment. Pay attention to what you hear, smell, and feel. You should give yourself at least 1 minute to forget about the hunger. When you take it easy, your body will be able to fight the urge again. It's not likely that the choice you make when you're wanting something will be in line with your long-term goals. That is what you can do when you are tempted to give in. However, it's not a good way to keep yourself going every day. Many people think that picturing their goal will help them reach it, but it's more likely to throw them off track. Let's look into why. What's the right way to visualize? Lean B, Pham and Shelley E. Taylor, 2 researchers at UCLA, did an experiment that compared normal visualization, imagining yourself reaching your goal, with sports visualization, which involves picturing how great swimmers like Michael Phelps do it. The results showed that picturing the steps in detail works better than picturing the end result as a single event. Dopamine lets you feel good about yourself without doing any work when you think about the goal. Because of this, you lose the motivation to work hard to meet your goals. How should you visualize your goals to become more disciplined then? In your mind, you see yourself doing each step you need to take to reach your goal. If you want to be healthy, fit, and strong, you probably picture yourself pulling weights and your face getting sweaty. You think about making a tasty and healthy meal. You picture yourself ignoring the hallway full of your favorite snacks and choosing veggies instead. You can see yourself putting on your running shoes instead of watching TV. Even better, it should never come back to your house. You train your mind to get ready for the problems you'll definitely face in real life. The more you think about all the steps you need to take to reach your goal, the easier it will be to make them a natural part of your life. Magic will happen when you shift your focus from events to processes. Choose what you let into your life. According to research, students put things off more when they think the job will be difficult, and less when they think they don't have the skills to do it. How to solve it? Pick and choose what you do in life and focus on the important things. The best jobs are ones that you enjoy and that use your skills. People who want to become more disciplined often mistake self-discipline with making themselves miserable. That's not what self-discipline is about. The only use of increased self-discipline is to help you reach the goals you want to achieve. In other words, no amount of self-discipline will be enough to help you stick to doing things you hate. This is where the matter of choice comes into play. We all only have so much energy and 24 hours in a day. If you try to do too many things at once, you will end up failing at the best of times and hurting yourself in the worst. That's why the first step to introduce more self-discipline into your life is to form keystone habits. A lot of the time, these small actions will cause big changes that will cause even more changes. Next, you should think about how your new goals fit into your overall life plan. Are you doing them because you really think they will make your life better, or because you think that's what you should do? Let me tell you a story from my own life. Like a lot of other kids, when I graduated from high school, my parents told me I should go to college. As they put it, you don't matter if you don't have a degree. Being interested in business is what made me choose business administration as my major. I cared less and less each month. It got harder and harder for me to go to class and study for tests. It would be hard to find a kid who didn't care more than I did. Even though I liked to be perfect, I quit school after less than 2 years. No amount of self-discipline could have helped me keep studying something that can only be taught in the real world. I couldn't force myself to study things that I couldn't even use in the real world for years, even though my parents told me to keep going. I promised myself I would never do anything that goes against my own goals and beliefs again. I should have used my time, money, and energy on something that would have helped me reach my goals instead of this. Always keep an eye on yourself. It's hard to break bad habits because they happen so fast. We quickly eat a chocolate bar. Your why won't help you if you can't act on it because of your habits. So, it's very important to keep an eye on your thinking and keep your mind on the present. These days, there are so many things that can take your attention away that it's easy to forget about your goals. While you text a friend, you grab a chocolate bar and a sugary drink to wash it down. Then you update your status. Studies have shown that users who aren't paying attention are more likely to try food at the store sampling stand. So, they end up buying more things than they planned, and most of the time, they are the exact opposite of what they should have been eating. You can use what this study found in your own life. If being busy makes us more likely to give up, we need to clear our minds and pay attention to our thoughts. If you want to learn how to focus on the present moment, I find that meditation helps. But really, any kind of awareness practice will do. It will be easier to remember your why and stick to your goals if there aren't many things that take your attention away. Think about cutting down on the time you spend on social media to help you connect with the present. I almost never use my phone to check social media, and I only check my email when I need an important answer. I can focus on the present moment better and avoid mindless actions that could hurt my long-term goals now that I have fewer things to confuse me. What makes you why? Just to review. 1. Why you want to reach a certain goal is important and can make or break your plans. If you have a strong why, it will be much easier to say no to pressure. 2. If you feel like giving in to an urge, take a moment to remember why you don't want to. It's an urge to give in to wants. You will be able to stop yourself from messing up your progress if you give yourself a minute or two to think. 3. You can do well with visualization if you do it the way professionals do. You are more likely to keep your promises if you picture yourself taking each and every step along the way to your goal. This is because you are mentally preparing for all the steps you need to take. 4. Pick and choose which goals you want to reach. If your goal doesn't fire you up, no amount of self-discipline will help you achieve it. 5. Stay in the present. Cut down on the things that will distract you and pay more attention to what's going on around you, especially when you're shopping. Part 3. Dopamine. Both your enemy and your friend. It's hard to understand what dopamine does in our bodies because it's such a complicated receptor. You should be most interested in the mesolimbic pathway, which is one of the ways dopamine works. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about how the brain works. This path starts in cells deep in the brain's middle and goes to the nucleus accumbens. It doesn't matter where the hell nucleus accumbens is if you want to know how. A release of dopamine in this way causes a spike that feels like happiness or drive, which is what most people think is the only job of dopamine. When we do drugs, have sex, or work out, our dopamine levels rise. This makes us feel good. Dopamine doesn't really have much to do with happiness, though. The chemical is released every time you see a cue that is linked to a prize. In the nucleus accumbens, the amount of dopamine will rise just by seeing a cue, like a cigarette. Making you want something will cause dopamine levels to drop if you don't give in to your urge. We can all agree that a drop in dopamine after a desire isn't satisfied doesn't feel good. One reason it's so hard to say no to a desire is this. Your brain is against you because it makes you focused on getting the prize that the cue signals. Giving in to the urge doesn't even make you happy. It just calms you down from the stress of not getting what your brain wanted. How can we stand a chance against dopamine? It's most important to know what a dopamine rush is and what makes it happen. Being aware of yourself will help you make better decisions when dopamine is affecting your thinking. Thought, sight, smell, and taste can all make dopamine work. One of those urges that makes you want to fill a thirst right now. The prize is most powerful when it is right in front of you during a dopamine rush. It's more likely that you won't take the prize if it's not easy to get. Get the chocolate bar out of sight if you always give in when you see it on your desk. Sometimes, just opening a drawer is enough to help you control yourself. Even better, don't keep the chocolate bar in your house. Instead, treat yourself only when you tell yourself to. Don't go into the aisles with foods that will make your reward center fire up while you're buying. For increased self-discipline, eat before you go shopping to be less sensitive to the scents and sights of food. Dopamine wants to make you feel good right away, which isn't always good for your long-term goals. The process that makes the desire so strong weakens over time, which is good news. Say you wait 10 minutes before giving in to a hunger. It will either go away totally or get weaker. When you think about a cue, how do you handle the dopamine rush that comes with it? It all comes down to your big why. Recognize your hunger and let the emotion move through your body. Then, focus on the reason you're not giving in to it. Make a short-term prize that shows you're getting closer to your big goal if you can. For example, noticing that you look different when you look at yourself in the mirror. Not a thing you do. Don't worry too much about letting go of the urge. Like telling someone, don't think about a pink elephant. Telling them, don't think about this tasty sweet piece of cake, will make them think about what they want to forget. Dopamine can also be your enemy, but it can also be your friend. No, it's not a bad chemical ready to find another reason to break your long-term goals. Add crazy laughter here. It can also help you change bad habits into good ones. It can also help you develop new habits and make them automated, thus rendering the level of your self-discipline irrelevant, since the behavior will happen with no resistance. Dopamine makes you give in to a desire because it thinks you will get something good in return. It reacts to a signal that your brain linked to a certain result. In this case, the sugar rush. Your reward center wants more than just bad prizes, though. When you see your running shoes, you can train your brain to feel a dopamine rush because of the treat that's right after it, like a drink. This will make you want to go for a jog outside. The best part is that you don't even have to try to control yourself. The chemical dopamine is what drives you to do the thing. The most important thing about dopamine is that it makes you feel pumped up when you can see the payoff. You could link going for a jog 3 times a week to something fun, like reading a book for an hour or having a shake when you get home. Because putting on running shoes leads to a drink later, your brain will start to link the two. This will help you get off the couch. If you need to reach your goal in a few weeks or months, break it up into smaller steps and give yourself a prize for each one. As you get small wins, your motivation will grow. The thought of getting fit in a few weeks or months will not drive you as much as getting a drink right after your workout. It can be easy to stick to a new habit. For example, you could listen to your best music while you run. How can the promise of a prize help you stay motivated? What gets you going and makes a job you don't want to do easier? You can try these prizes to make it easier to start new habits. 1. Of course, if you're trying to lose weight, you should treat yourself to low-calorie food like fruits, nuts, and veggies. 2. Experience. Things don't make us happy for as long as experiences do. As a result, if you want to stick to a budget, promising to go out with your friends is a better way to get yourself to do something than getting a new outfit or tool. 3. Free music. Studies have shown that music makes low to middle-level exercise seem 10% less hard. The thought of listening to your favorite songs while you jog will make it easier for your body to move. 4. As a break, the Pomodoro technique, which is a popular way to handle your time, breaks down each job into a 25-minute block. This helps you avoid putting things off. Each 25-minute block gives you a 5-minute break. Setting up these breaks ahead of time helps you get to work. The thought of a break gives you a rush of adrenaline and makes you less distracted. 5. A nap. Promise yourself a short nap after finishing a job to get yourself to do it. A short 15-minute nap will help you wake up and concentrate on other things you need to do that day. 6. Plan. Something fun. Since that dream vacation is still a long way off, a better way to treat yourself is to look through travel magazines or websites and read about possible places to go. One of the best ways to get yourself to finish a job is to plan it out first. 7. To relax, you could get a massage, hold hands with your partner, meditate, visit a spa, or go for a walk. If you know that a stress-relieving treat is waiting for you when you finish a job, you'll be more likely to do it. 8. Novelty. Dopamine reacts to new things. Do something new instead of going to the gym if you find it hard to leave the house. Don't run on a machine, go to a different exercise class, or change your workout. Instead, try climbing a wall. If you have trouble keeping up with your new healthy eating habits, try something new that is still good for you. 9. Variation. Like innovation, variation works in the same way. Do fewer reps and more sets, change the route you take every day when you jog, and add new spices to the meals you eat every day. Making small changes can be all you need to stay on track with your goals. Dopamine is both good and bad for you. To sum up, dopamine makes you eager to get a prize when a certain stimulus happens. Figure out what makes you want to give up things, and then wait until the urge goes away. 2. Don't worry too much about getting rid of the thoughts that make you want something. This will make you more likely to give up, not help you. You should be open to all of your thoughts and let them go without any stress. 3. Use dopamine to get excited about doing things that will help you reach your goals. Link a certain event, like putting on your workout shoes, to the thought of a treat, like a tasty and healthy drink afterward. Chapter 4. 5. Useful ways to teach discipline. You can also introduce more discipline in your life if you make an effort to train yourself to control your urges and emotions. You can improve your self-control and get better at saying no to quick satisfaction in a few key ways. We'll talk about some of the best ways to do that in this part. 1. Thoughts on. Mind training helps you pay attention to one thing at a time, your breath. Putting aside other things to do and staying still for even a short time takes a lot of effort. Studies have shown that meditation changes the white matter in the anterior cingulate, which makes it easier to manage your impulses. Don't give up if you've always had trouble focusing because your mind keeps going from one thought to another. It's something that everyone goes through. A daily 5-minute meditation practice will train your mind even if your mind moves all the time. Just practicing bringing your thoughts back to your breath will help. You'll soon be able to focus for more than 20 seconds. Start slowly if you want to make meditation a part of your life. At first, I don't think practices longer than 5 minutes are a good idea. Even though it sounds short, it feels like forever when you close your eyes and try to concentrate on your breath. Just how do you meditate? While you can read a book or two about different types of meditation, it's not necessary for self-discipline purposes. When you meditate, it's important to pay attention to the present moment and the feelings that are going through your body while you sit still. Here is a simple, step-by-step guide on how to do it. 1. Stay still in a comfortable spot. Don't get up or lie down. Instead, sit up straight. If you're not very flexible, forget about the cross-legged lotus pose you see in movies. These are the 3 places that newbies usually start in. Straightening your back while sitting on the edge of the chair. Yes, it can be that easy. You don't need any crazy positions. Sitting with your legs crossed. Beginners often do it because it's easy, but I find it too hard on my back, so I choose the 3rd choice instead. In the Seiza pose, rest your bottom on your feet and fold your legs under your thighs. You can put a pillow under your back to make it more comfortable. You can set a clock on your phone or use a simple app to stop after 5 minutes. Just do not use a loud bell that will make you lose your mind. 2. Pay attention to your breath and close your eyes. It's best to just count to yourself. 1 breath in, 2 breaths out, 1 breath in, 2 breaths out. You can also keep track of your breaths until you hit 100. At first, don't think you'll get past 20 before you get distracted. You can stop counting breaths once you feel better and just pay attention to how your body feels in general. 3. Pay attention to how your body feels as you breathe in and out. As you move up, start at your feet and try to relax every muscle. You might be surprised at how much stress you hold in different parts of your body, even in places you didn't know you had stress, like your chin. Bring your attention back to your breath and how your body feels if you lose it. It's normal to lose focus. It's not a bad thing. Do the same thing every single day. As long as you do it every day, it doesn't matter when you do it. Most people find that morning works best. For now, don't make your lessons longer until you can sit still for 5 minutes without moving. It's better to give yourself an extra minute every other week or so than to give up when you reach 15 minutes. There will also be cold showers. I promise I'm not a sadist. For people who want to try something new, taking a cold shower is not required. Why would cold showers improve your self-discipline? You'll understand why if you take one. Are you still not sure after that? Okay, let me give you a longer answer. Taking cold showers makes you feel painful, but they have long-term benefits that are well known. You really need to be strong to not get out of the shower or turn the knob back to hot water. For 2 months, I took 5-minute ice-cold showers. They helped me figure out how my self-control works. The first time I took a cold shower, I felt nothing afterward. After taking a few showers, I learned that the worst part was the first 1 to 2 minutes. After the first 60 to 120 seconds were over, the rest of the time wasn't too bad, and sometimes it was even fun. When I was trying to avoid a temptation, I noticed the same thing happening. It was the first 2 minutes that were the hardest. You can feel better knowing that things will get easier after the first 120 seconds. I'm not sure that you need to keep taking cold showers for the rest of your life. After all, we don't build self-discipline to make our lives miserable. However, as a short-term test, it's smart to take cold showers for a week or 2. It'll show you what you can and can't do. It won't be long before you know the difference between "I'm going to freeze" and "I can stand it," or "it's not that bad." You'll soon be able to use what you've learned in other situations, especially when you're working out hard. A lot of adult Muslims fast from the break of dawn until sunset every 9th month of the Islamic lunar cycle. There are people who pray in this way because they want to learn self-control and improve themselves. Abstaining from food works in a similar way as taking cold showers, although it helps you build long-term self-discipline. A 5-minute cold shower is much better for you than fasting for at least 14 to 16 hours. That is, until you get used to the new way of eating. There is always the urge to break the fast and eat. Some people might not be able to handle it, but it doesn't hurt to give it a try and see how it makes you feel. Studies have shown that intermittent fasting is good for the cardiovascular and cerebrovascular systems, and may be a good way to eat to keep your brain healthy as you age. It is also a powerful practice to develop self-discipline. Fasting doesn't have to be a normal part of your life, just like taking cold showers doesn't have to be. Even fasting just once a week, for instance, you can stop eating at 6 p.m. one day and resume at 6 p.m. the next day, will help you practice your self-discipline. One more benefit of fasting is that it can help you change how you feel about food and maybe even help you lose weight. You don't have to eat 5 times a day to stay full or lose weight. Fasting also doesn't hurt your mood, sleep, or ability to think clearly. Every single day, I fast for 16 to 20 hours, and it has only made my life better. I'm not as hungry as I used to be. It always cracks me up when my friends die of hunger just a few hours after eating, and I no longer let food drive my routine. I don't always eat until late at night. I really think you should fast at least once in a while. You can skip 1 or 2 meals, not eat at all for a day, or change the way you normally eat for a short time. If you decide it's not for you, you can always go back to your old ways. Let go of small things and keep an eye on yourself. Just like meditation can help you become more disciplined by focusing on the act of breathing, so can little challenges in your everyday life help you become better at self-control. For instance, a lot of people like to slouch. You could be it right now. Throughout the day, make it hard to keep your back straight. For what reason do you often swear when you're stuck in traffic? Don't give in to the urge. Instead, think about something better. Having more self-control will help you deal with your anger better. Whenever you wake up, do you leave your bed not made? Don't leave it unmade. Instead, take 2 minutes to make it look beautiful, as if you were expecting someone to come over. Do you always want to show people they're wrong? Be strong enough to stop doing this, and remember to keep your tongue between your teeth. There are also many online tools and apps that can help you keep track of the little things in your life, like how much you spend, how much time you spend on leisure sites, and how much time you spend watching TV. You can find new tasks that will help you get better at self-control by keeping an eye on yourself. Start with a small thing and get better at managing it. Pick something that is a little harder to control to make it harder. Push yourself to take more control over the little things you do without thinking about them. Go beyond the first sign of tiredness. In 1954, Sir Roger Bannister was the first person to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. In 2000, he said, "It's the brain, not the heart or lungs, that is the critical organ." He meant it. Studies have shown that the first sign of tiredness is a mood, not a sign that your body is done and can't go on. Consequently, you can learn how to exert more self-discipline when you decide to go past the first feeling of fatigue and see how much further you can push yourself. Of course, exercise is the most natural place to use this result. When you go to the gym, don't be afraid to push yourself a little further than you thought you could. It is important to do it safely, though, with the right form and someone to help you. Sometimes I do it at the gym, and it helps me find my real boundaries. I often find that my mind is the only thing stopping me from doing more. When you run long distances, challenge yourself to beat your own record and finish the distance you normally take longer, or go further. Just like when you lift weights, don't hurt yourself. Do not push yourself too far and hurt yourself. Getting past the first sign of tiredness will help you push yourself and make it easier to keep your cool when things get too tough. It's not like you could give in to the urge to eat a chocolate bar if you were able to do 1 more rep with a big bar on your back, even though you were completely exhausted, right? 5 practical ways to train your discipline. Quick recap. 1. Meditation helps you train your self-discipline by forcing you to focus only on your breath. You learn how to stay focused and live in the present time as well. If you want to start relaxing, do short sessions that last 5 minutes. 2. Even though they hurt a lot for the first minute or 2, cold showers can help you deal with problems better. Because of this, you'll feel more in charge. 3. When you really want to give in, fasting, even if you only do it once in a while, will help you control your urges. This book is especially helpful for people who want to change how they feel about food and get better at controlling their cravings. 4. You can take charge of bigger things if you learn how to handle smaller ones. Start by keeping an eye on easy things and then move on to harder ones. Think of it like working out. 5. Push yourself to the limit. 4. Your body reacts to worry by making you feel tired at first, but that doesn't mean you can't go on. Do things that test your self-control to see how much more you can take. 5. Chapter 5. Self-discipline, or its lack, is contagious. A review of the studies on the role of social impact in the obesity problem was done by Ross Hammond. His results back up the idea that social pressure is a major cause of fat. To put it another way, our family and friends can make us fat. They must have an effect on other parts of our lives if they can make us more likely to gain weight. 6. It is said that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. This quote is from motivational speaker Jim Rohn. It's hard to disagree with what he said, even though it wasn't backed up by science. Friends and family have an effect on every part of our lives. We copy what they say, do, think, and feel. Self-discipline isn't different. If all of your friends enjoy watching TV for hours on end and haven't done any real exercise in years, it's likely that you're like them. There's a good chance that you and they both have weight problems and often eat at fast food restaurants together. If you want to introduce more self-discipline in your life, consider surrounding yourself with the energy conducive to a positive change. You don't have to drop all your friends, though. 7. Even though your family and friends shape who you are, you can fill your space with a different kind of energy through books and the internet. 4. For example, none of my friends are really into working out. There's only one other person who has been going to the gym 3 times a week for a long time. I could have been affected by my friends' habits, but they weren't. It happened for a simple reason. I hang out with a lot of successful people through different online groups and sites. Some of these people are more like my close friends than I am with my close friends, but their positive attitudes inspire me to do better. The challenges other people set for themselves and share online inspire me to work on my self-discipline and push my boundaries too. Without the internet, I think it would be much harder for me to fight the urge to do things the simple, easy, and comfortable way that gives me short-term pleasure, but not much else. 8. A friend of mine from childhood started hanging out with people who weren't very eager to succeed. After a couple of months, his daily routine was very similar to those of these people. He would play video games, hang out with friends in the neighborhood, do nothing, and regularly abuse drugs. His life only got better after he cut ties with these people a few years later. He got back on track to make positive changes in his life, and his self-discipline improved so much he was able to get rid of most of the bad habits contracted from these people. People who hang out with wolves are said to learn how to howl. Make good friends. 9. The first part talked about the 80-20 rule, which can also be used in our interactions. 80% of the fun you have with other people comes from 20% of your friends. If you think about your friends and family, you can quickly name the person who makes you the happiest. It's likely that people who read this book share your growth-oriented attitude. There are also people on the other end of the scale who make your life worse. You keep meeting with these people even though you don't really like them because it's a bad habit. You know the type. They always have something bad to say. They put the blame on others for everything, and they make fun of you for trying to reach your goals. If you'd like to become more self-disciplined, reduce the amount of time you spend with people who lack discipline. It's easy for their actions to affect you, even if you don't agree with them. 10. Think about this. If you see a lot of French fries on your friend's plate, you might feel like you're doing pretty well with your new diet. It might make you want to break your rule and get fast food too, which would be bad for you and your friend. But if you hang out with people who have habits you want to pick up, they will help you reach your goal. You're more likely to start going to the gym if all of your friends do. 11. Have a self-discipline role model. Not everyone is lucky enough to have a mentor. For those who don't, they have to find their own, usually in books. In either case, though, you can have a person whose traits and habits you want to have. One person I look up to is British multi-millionaire Richard Koch, who is known for writing books about the 80-20 rule. I keep in mind what he would do every time I want to make my life more difficult and aim for quantity over quality. Without realizing it, he's one of my mentors who helps me keep my resolutions and keep going in the direction I set for myself. Who is your self-discipline role model? What kind of values, habits, and traits would you like to have? It doesn't have to be a famous person. Even people in your own family can be great examples. What would this person do if she felt like breaking her promise? If she saw you eating that chocolate bar instead of following your new eating plan, what would she say? 12. Have a self-disciplined partner. If you're trying to form a new habit that one of your friends also wants to introduce in her life, partner up with her to keep each other motivated and accountable. Your self-discipline, combined with the self-discipline of your friend, will result in a synergic effect that will keep you going even during the days you'd like to give in. 13. Ignore haters. Every time you set out to accomplish something in your life, you'll use your self-discipline to help you say no to instant gratification and keep the big picture in your head. Unfortunately, with accomplishment come haters, people who dislike you because they're jealous of your success. These individuals don't even have to be some anonymous people from the internet. It might as well be a member of your family or one of your friends. Instead of making it blatantly obvious, they may hide their contempt with jests. While it's tempting to respond to these people, it's a good self-discipline exercise to focus on your goals and pay no attention to such distractions. The time and energy you would spend trying to straighten haters out, not gonna happen, is better spent on bettering yourself. I like to say there's always something good in everything bad that happens to us. Haters are no different. I use the disbelief or jealousy of other people as motivation to stick to my long-term goals. To give you an example, if someone would tell you with viciousness, "You're looking today just like you looked a couple of months ago despite your regular workouts," you could use it as fuel for your workouts. You could strive to prove this person wrong, but not with the intention of shoving it in her face. Quite the contrary, you would find the joy in accomplishing your goals despite others. Like they say, the best revenge is living well. If there's anybody in your life who's driving you crazy with her nasty remarks, channel your energy toward your goals. 14. As an additional exercise, you'll learn how to resist a temptation to argue with someone. Nothing good ever comes out of arguing. Self-discipline, or its lack, is contagious. Quick recap. People around you can affect your self-discipline. If you hang around people who exhibit negative habits, you're more likely to develop them in yourself. 15. If you spend time with growth-oriented people, you're more likely to grow along with them. To find a self-discipline role model or get a self-discipline partner, each time you're tempted to give in, remind yourself of how disappointed your role model or partner would be if she saw you losing to your urges. 16. Ignore people who'd like you to fail because it would prove they are failures. If it gets you going, use their negative energy to motivate yourself to achieve your goal. Chapter 6. 7. Traps that challenge your self-discipline. There are many traps that can challenge your decision to become more self-disciplined and resist certain temptations. In this chapter, we'll cover some of the most common dangers for your self-control. 17. Your future you isn't as different as you think. Studies show that due to a phenomenon known as temporal discounting, people value immediate gains over future rewards. Moreover, they consider their future selves as strangers. As a result, you may fail to save money for the future. After all, why save money for a stranger? And introduce other changes that would benefit you in the future. The rate at which people trade current dollars for future dollars is known as the personal discount rate. A high personal discount rate is positively correlated with impulsiveness. 18. Research shows that heroin addicts have higher discount rates for delayed rewards than non-drug users. For a more common everyday example, non-drug users with higher discount rates would rather get 1 chocolate bar now than 2 in an hour. A study performed on the real-world data from the military drawdown program of the early 1990s showed that people faced with a choice to get an annuity and a lump sum now chose the latter option, even though they would receive at least 17% less money by choosing instant gratification. 19. Studies conducted by Iku Weber and colleagues suggest a solution to this problem. Instead of thinking about the reasons why you should choose instant gratification, think about the future reward first. This weird trick switches the order in your mind, making you choose between future reward and accelerating consumption when it's easier to resist the reward you can get now because you don't want to lose the vision. Instead of instant gratification and delaying consumption when it's harder to resist the temptation since you don't want to lose the instant reward. For instance, when you see a chocolate bar on your desk, think about the future reward first, a healthy mind and body, and then compare it to the present reward, a brief burst of energy. Your mind will consider the second choice less attractive than if you switch the order and treat delayed gratification as the loss of the chocolate bar. 20. Envisioning your future self, whether you motivate yourself by imagining your feared-for or hoped-for future self, is another helpful technique to increase your self-control. Scientists at McMaster University conducted an experiment that proved the effectiveness of this technique. People who imagine their future selves, either feared for or hoped for, reported they exercised more. Another study confirms the effectiveness of thinking about your future self to delay gratification. Try both approaches. Spend a minute or two thinking about the best version of yourself, the kind of person you want to become. Then imagine the worst kind of person you never want to become. Which image motivates you more to stick to your goals and say no to instant gratification? Keep in mind, this exercise isn't about visualizing your success. It's just about bringing your future you closer to the current day to encourage you to take care of your future. 21. I'll wait until I feel like doing it. Are you making excuses or making changes? I'll wait until I feel like doing it. In other words, it means never. If you find you're assuring yourself you'll start as soon as you feel like doing it, revisit your goals. Self-discipline depends on your motivation. With no motivation, there's little to no self-control, no matter how disciplined you otherwise are. Remember my story with the college? I should have listened to myself before I enrolled. All of us sometimes make the wrong decisions and set the wrong goals. If you find yourself constantly procrastinating, chances are it's not the right goal for you. What if you catch yourself making such excuses with important keystone habits? Then it's time to go back to the drawing board and come up with a more powerful why. 22. Let's say your original reason to lose weight was to make others jealous of your new body. If you find yourself constantly postponing the day of introducing new eating habits, perhaps it was the wrong reason. In general, a powerful, encouraging goal is based on internal motivation. You'll get much more drive from your internal need to become a better person than from trying to please someone, make someone jealous, or enjoy other trivial external benefits of reaching your goal. Men working out to attract women, women losing weight to seduce men. While there's nothing wrong with making trivial motivation a part of your why, your main reason for changes should come from within you, like your own desire to become healthier, stronger, richer, etc. 23. Research conducted in an academic context of motivation suggests that intrinsic personal goals, health, personal growth, affiliation, community contribution, increase both the short-term and long-term persistence of learning than extrinsic personal goals, fame, physical appearance, financial success. Come up with a strong why that will keep you going when the first rush of motivation goes away, replaced by the hard reality where success requires stick-to-itiveness, even when it rains, even when you don't feel like doing it, even when you'd rather stick to your old habits and give in to your temptations. 24. False hope syndrome. False hope syndrome refers to a behavior of setting unrealistic expectations about the speed, amount, ease, and consequences of the changes you'll make in your life. It's sort of like a vicious cycle. People who fall victim to this syndrome make frequent attempts to change themselves, yet fail each time because they set impossible goals. The first part of the change, making the decision to make a change and setting an unrealistic goal, gives you a powerful boost of hope that makes you feel good. It's typical instant gratification. You haven't achieved anything, but you already feel like you're on top of the world or just an inch from reaching it. 25. False hope syndrome makes you come up with unrealistic goals because you're overexcited about reaching them. People say, "I can lose on average 2 to 3 pounds a week. To hell with it, let's make it 10 pounds. I'll be slim and sexy in 3 weeks." No entrepreneur succeeded with her first business idea, right? "I'll be a multi-millionaire in a year. There's a limit on how much muscle my body can take on in a week." Nah, that's some nonsense. "I'll gain 30 pounds in 6 weeks, like this guy from the app." Each of these examples sets the person up for failure. Once they start making actual changes with a clear mind, they will notice how difficult their goal is and how unlikely it is to achieve it. The delusion quickly turns to resignation, which leads to breaking their resolutions, and just like that, they're back to square one. 26. While trying again and again is worth applauding, it's a foolish thing to keep giving in due to the same cause. The next time you're setting your goals, and especially if they're related to something you have little idea about, set your mind on the action steps you need to take to reach your goal. And although dreaming big is an admirable quality, find out what average people achieve and adjust your goals accordingly. Thanks to this simple change in your attitude, you won't get discouraged by not reaching your unrealistic expectations. 27. Decision fatigue. A study conducted on judges uncovered a disturbing finding. When judges were tired of making repeated rulings, they tended to stick to the status quo. More specifically, the percentage of favorable rulings dropped gradually from 65% to nearly zero within each decision session and returned to 65% after a short break. A study on making choices and self-control demonstrated that making several choices led to reduced self-control, exhibited among others by reduced persistence and increased procrastination. President Obama once said in an interview, "You'll see I wear only grey or blue suits. I'm trying to pare down decisions. I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing because I have too many other decisions to make." His decision to reduce the number of decisions he's making every single day helps him make better decisions when faced with more important matters than the color of his suit. Dean Spears of Princeton University argues in his paper that decision fatigue is one of the reasons why the poor stay poor. Since they have less money to spend, each financial trade-off leaves them with less and less self-control than the people who have more disposable income. By the time the poor are at the cash register, they can't resist buying a snack or other products displayed there, thus spending more money than they intended. Studies also show that decision fatigue can lead to decision avoidance. In the presence of too many choices, people tend to stick with the status quo. If you're trying to make a positive change in your life, it can mean choosing the unhealthy food you've been eating instead of picking one of the healthy alternatives. You can also learn from these findings and reduce the effect of decision fatigue on your self-discipline. It all comes down to simplification. First and foremost, Reduce the number of trivial decisions you make in your life. For instance, spend less time and energy choosing what to wear in the morning. According to the 80-20 principle, 80% of the time, you wear 20% of your clothes. Reduce the number of unessential decisions by cleaning your closet and donating things you no longer wear. The easiest way to get rid of clothes you no longer wear is to ask yourself a simple question. If I didn't own it, how much would I pay to get it? If you wouldn't be willing to pay for it, or you would pay little, why keep it? Another way to avoid decision fatigue is to reduce the number of choices. For instance, if you're in a restaurant and you have a hard time picking your meal, choose the first 2 meals that caught your attention and decide between them. Better yet, ask the waitress to choose for you and have more self-control to resist the dessert. Last but not least, put to use the findings of the study with judges. If you want to make the right decision, do it after a break, not before it. And to stay on the safe side, do it in the morning when you've yet to make hundreds of little decisions. Stress. Have you ever given in to a temptation you vowed to resist because you were angry or stressed out? Well, the better question to ask would be, who hasn't? An Australian study on students shows that stress depletes willpower. Students who are stressed because of exams reported an increase in smoking and caffeine consumption. Their diet and sleep deteriorated. They struggled with controlling their emotions, exercised less, paid less attention to household chores and self-care habits. They also cared less about commitments and spending. The moment your mood goes sour, your brain starts searching for a solution to make you feel better. Usually it means looking for an easy way to get a reward, and so you turn to the very thing you want to avoid. Dopamine-releasing activities such as eating, drinking, smoking, shopping, surfing the internet, playing video games, and so on. Most people underestimate the effect of stress on their lives. Everything goes well until it doesn't. Your body breaks down, and you're left with no power to face daily tasks, let alone exert self-control to better yourself. Since physical activity is one of the best ways to reduce the level of stress, it should be the first keystone habit to introduce in your life. If you already exercise on a regular basis, here are a few more ways to reduce your stress. 1. Read a book. Reading a book in silence is a simple way to forget about the world around you and restore your energy. 2. Go for a walk, especially in nature. Studies show that exercise in green spaces such as forests and parks promotes well-being and recovery from stress. 3. Meditate. We already discussed how powerful it is. 4. Get a massage. Some people still consider it awkward to get a massage from a stranger, even though it has been proven to be a powerful way to alleviate stress. 5. Spend time with friends and family. Enjoying the company of people close to you will help you forget about your troubles, and once you focus on your problems again, they will be easier to solve. 6. Cuddle or have sex. Physical intimacy, even a simple hug, results in the release of oxytocin and serotonin, 2 powerful stress-relieving hormones. 7. Listen to music. Music helps relieve stress and improves mood. Studies have also found it has a small pain-relieving effect. The key to reducing stress effectively is to focus on techniques that provide a longer stress-relieving response, not a quick release of tension. Dunning-Kruger effect, the restraint bias, and the empathy gap. In 1995 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a man named MacArthur Wheeler decided to rob a bank. Instead of wearing a ski mask like any other robber, he smeared lemon juice on his face, packed his gun, and left his home. His logic: lemon juice can be used as invisible ink that becomes visible only when you hold the piece of paper close to a heat source. Hence, he concluded, security cameras wouldn't see him. I can hear you laughing. It was broad daylight when he entered the first savings bank and demanded money with a gun in his hand and no mask on his face. He had the magic lemon juice, remember? Then he proceeded to rob another bank a few hours later. The police watched the surveillance tapes from the banks and decided to show the robber's face on the evening news. An hour later, an informant identified MacArthur Wheeler when he saw the police on his doorstep. A surprised Wheeler said, "But I wore the juice." Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. Wheeler's genius robbery inspired two scientists from Cornell University, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, to research incompetence and inflated self-assessments. The result of their study was what we now call the Dunning-Kruger effect, a cognitive bias in which unskilled people overestimate their abilities, while highly skilled individuals underestimate them. The only way for the incompetent to realize the limitations of their abilities is to improve the very same skills they believe they possess. A later study showed that people overestimate their ability to control impulses like hunger, drug craving, and sexual arousal. It's called the restraint bias. When you have an inflated belief about the ability to control your impulses, you are more prone to overexpose yourself to temptations. A related bias is a hot-cold empathy gap, wherein people who are in a cold state, for instance they aren't hungry, tend to underestimate the power of impulses when in a hot state, for instance when they're hungry. These three biases can affect your self-control too. The solution to avoid them is to assume your self-control skills aren't as good as you think. If you assume you're not as smart as you think, you will spend more time making sure you're right, and thus avoid stupid mistakes. If you assume you have little self-control and temptations can easily break you, you will do a better job avoiding temptations. Status quo bias and related non-rational cognitive processes. Status quo bias is a preference to keep things as they are. Any change from the current state of things is perceived as a loss. As a result, making positive changes in your life can be much harder than you think, simply because you will perceive them as losses, even if the current state of things is no longer optimal for you. There are several biases that interact with the status quo bias, such as loss aversion, a tendency to strongly prefer avoiding losses to acquiring gains, and the endowment effect, a tendency to ascribe more value to things merely because you own them. Let's say you want to go on a diet, but there's still a lot of unhealthy food in your house because of the status quo bias. Instead of making the more optimal decision of donating the food, you will keep it at home. Then, thanks to the restraint bias, you'll be more likely to eat it. The resistance to get rid of the food is also related to loss aversion. You'd rather not lose the food you spent money on than make your house free of temptations. There are several ways you can battle the status quo bias. 1. Remind yourself of your goals and ask yourself if the status quo serves these objectives. Does storing tempting food in your house help you lose weight? 2. Asking yourself whether you would pick the status quo if it wasn't already the current state of things. Would you still want to have junk food in your house if it was free of it? 3. Coming up with several alternatives to the status quo. Instead of seeing things in black and white, come up with more ideas. You can donate the food, but you can also give it to your friend to keep it for you. 4. Not succumbing to the status quo simply because you have a hard time choosing between alternatives. If you're unsure whether you should donate the food or give it to your friend, don't resort to the easy choice of not doing anything. Kick between donating and giving it to your friend. Toss a coin if you have no idea what to do. 7 traps that challenge your self-discipline. Just to review. 1. Grow closer with your future self. People who prefer to get less now instead of more in the future are more likely to give in to temptations and fail at achieving their long-term goals. 2. When faced with the possibility of instant gratification, think about the reward from your long-term goal first. It tricks your mind, making it easier to stay disciplined. 3. If you want to wait until you feel like doing something, reconsider your motivation. Come up with a goal fueled by inner motivation: health, personal growth, affiliation, community contribution. Then external motivation: fame, physical appearance, financial success. 4. When setting new goals, be aware of the false hope syndrome. Don't set unrealistic goals you're unlikely to meet, as they will discourage you and make you fall off the wagon sooner rather than later. 5. The more decisions you have to make, the worse the quality of your decisions will be. Spend your decision-making energy wisely. Reduce the number of decisions you take each day to reduce the effect of decision fatigue in your life. Make important decisions after a break or early in the day. 6. Stress kills your self-control. Make it a priority in your life to keep your stress levels in check. If you need to relax, choose activities that will promote long-term well-being rather than techniques that will result in a short burst of relief. 7. People with little self-control tend to overestimate their ability to control their urges. Assume you're not as good as you think to avoid overexposing yourself to temptations. 8. Avoid the status quo bias by asking yourself if the status quo serves your goals. Asking yourself if you would still choose it if it wasn't in place. Coming up with more choices and not choosing the status quo because it's difficult to make a decision. Chapter 7. Additional Tips and Tricks. In the last chapter of the book, we'll discuss some additional tips and tricks that will help you stay disciplined. The ideas presented below will increase your chances of forming a new habit and changing your default actions. When you combine them with all the things you've learned so far, you'll become much more successful at saying no to temptations. Make yourself accountable and set stakes. My friend, who's a successful entrepreneur, writes his close friend checks to hold him accountable. If he doesn't accomplish the goal he shared with his friend can cash the check and use the money as he wishes. Setting stakes is one of the most powerful ways to keep yourself disciplined. After all, if there's no punishment if you give in, except for self-guilt, it's more tempting to succumb to a craving than if you knew you were going to suffer grave consequences. For the best results, stakes should be high. If you're going to give your friend a check, it has to be for a substantial amount of money, not a small sum you don't care about. Instead of giving your friend a check, you can use StickK. It's a website that allows you to commit to a specific goal. Then you can set stakes if you don't reach it, or appoint someone, the referee, who will keep you accountable. The site offers 4 options for setting stakes. You can either choose a friend or a foe who will get your money if you fail at your goal. You can also choose a charity or an anti-charity, an organization you don't support. Stakes are a powerful motivator. Let's say you will penalize yourself $50 every time you eat a chocolate bar. For how long would you keep eating it if it essentially cost you $50? Is any chocolate bar even worth this kind of money? And what if you not only lost $50, but it would also go to an organization you hate? A special kind of setting stakes is buying a gym membership for a year up front, or paying up front for anything else that will help you achieve your long-term goal. Sometimes all you need to stick to your resolutions is the perspective of losing a considerable amount of money. Make sure to achieve small wins. Studies show that people who lose the most weight in the initial weeks of their diet lose more weight in the long term, even if they follow an extreme diet. Other studies discovered that among middle-aged obese women, those who lost weight most rapidly were the most likely to keep it off after 1.5 years. It sounds like it goes against the best practices of losing weight. After all, it's the tortoise who should win, right? Yet science says otherwise. When you think about it in the context of self-discipline, the reason why it works this way is simple. People who lose the most weight in the first 2 to 3 weeks of dieting are encouraged by their initial success to keep going. The string of small wins helps them stick to their resolution even when the effect of initial, rapid weight loss wears off. You can apply these findings to every area of your life that needs more discipline. Want to save enough money to cover your living costs for 3 months? Set a goal to reach $100 in savings first, then $250, then $500. Want to lose weight and change your eating habits? Consider a diet that brings quick results in the short term but can be maintained for a long period of time. Want to stop worrying so much? Set a goal to stop worrying for just 1 day, then try 2 days in a row, then 3, or try to stop worrying about just one specific thing in your life, then 2, then 3. The first small wins will encourage you to keep going and boost your motivation to make permanent changes in your life. Put roadblocks. We cave to temptations because of an impulse. 1 second we see a chocolate bar, the next second it's in our mouth. We see a discounted item we don't need, and then we find ourselves paying for it at the cash register. If you're an impulsive person, put roadblocks that will serve the role of your self-discipline. For instance, if you have a habit of buying discounted things just because they're discounted, don't carry a credit card with you. Replace it with a small amount of cash. If you always go to your favorite fast food restaurant after work, set up a meeting right after your job so you can't repeat your behavior. If you want to stop mindlessly surfing the internet while working, turn off your Wi-Fi card or use an application that will block access to the internet or the sites that distract you. Make choices before they become emotional. Prevention is the best medicine, and so is planning for your temptations. If you're always hungry at 3 p.m., pack a healthy lunch instead of grabbing your spare cash and getting a chocolate bar from a vending machine. If you want to stop arguing with other people, know a person who always drives you crazy. Come up with a plan to avoid this person. When you plan for situations that can challenge your self-discipline too much, you reduce the risk of giving in to a temptation. Consequently, you prevent cravings instead of fighting against them. Schedule indulgences. Tim Ferriss is the author of the wildly popular fitness book, The 4-Hour Body. In the book, he describes the slow-carb diet, a diet that focuses on eating foods with a low glycemic index. Entire groups of food are restricted, but it isn't what makes the diet easy to stick to and so effective. This diet, with the addition of some extreme modifications, helped me lose over 30 pounds in 12 weeks. What makes it so powerful is the cheat day, a scheduled day on which you're allowed to eat anything you want, as much as you want. Tim Ferriss had no delusions. People give in to cravings, especially when they're dieting, and there's little he can do about it. Consequently, he decided to allow the dieters to indulge themselves 1 day a week. In addition to making people stick to the diet better, a cheat day actually helps you lose weight instead of slowing down your progress. Just like it's easier to work for 25 minutes if you know there's a 5-minute break coming soon, so is dieting more bearable when you know that in 6 days you'll be allowed to stuff yourself with whatever you want. You can adopt the idea of a cheat day for your other habits too. For instance, if you want to exercise more, schedule 1 day per week that you can spend at home with 0 physical activity. You don't necessarily have to follow through, but it will be a powerful boost to know that you can. If you want to start a new business and work on it every single day before or after work, set 1 day per week that is free of any kind of work. No matter what your habit is, you can find a way to give yourself a short break that won't ruin your progress. In most cases, the result will be the total opposite. You will be more motivated to keep going. Tying habits together, as we already explored in the first chapter, Habits will help you automate your behaviors and introduce changes in your life without exerting huge amounts of self-control. What I didn't mention in the first chapter, though, is the idea that you can combine your existing habits with new good ones. For instance, if you always brush your teeth right after you wake up, associate the act of brushing your teeth with a short meditation session afterward. Once you establish a new pattern, brushing teeth will remind you of the meditation. When you establish the habit of meditating after brushing your teeth, you can add another good habit on top of these two habits. Say writing down 3 things you're grateful for. Stacking habits on top of the existing ones is easier than coming up with completely new cues and routines, and will help you form habits with more ease. Just get it going. Best-selling author Jack Canfield once said, "You don't have to get it perfect, you just have to get it going." When you feel overwhelmed and ready to give up, tell yourself you'll try something for just 5 minutes, and then you can stop. When you start, in 5 minutes pass, more often than not, you'll want to keep going. What's hard is starting, not continuing. Once you get it going, for instance, if you introduced a habit to exercise for 30 minutes 3 times per week, tell yourself you'll put your running shoes on and go for a quick 5-minute jog around the block. If you can't force yourself to go to the gym, tell yourself you will only perform 1 exercise and then you can go home. If you have a hard time meditating, tell yourself you'll only meditate for 1 minute. Make the act of starting as painless as possible. Once you overcome the initial resistance, you should find it much easier to keep going. 7 additional tips and tricks to stay disciplined. Quick recap. 1. Making yourself accountable and setting stakes are 2 powerful ways to get external motivation to stick to your goals. Come up with a punishment for breaking your resolutions, and you'll think twice before giving up. 2. Small wins will encourage you to keep going during the first, usually hardest part of forming a habit or making any other change in your life. Make sure your process is small and friendly by setting many goals that can be achieved with relative ease. 3. Instead of testing your self-discipline, put roadblocks and make choices before you're forced to react to an impulse. Think when your self-control is going to be tested and prepare for it, either by making the threat disappear altogether, avoiding a specific situation, or making it easier to bear. 4. Reward yourself with days of indulgence from time to time. All of us give in to temptations on occasion. Instead of making yourself feel guilty about an occasional slip-up, plan when you're going to do it and enjoy it. 5. Associate new habits with the existing ones to make it easier to introduce a new routine in your life. 6. Avoid procrastination by telling yourself you'll only perform a certain task for 5 minutes. Chances are that once you start, you'll want to keep going. End of the book. Thank you for listening.